Happy Friday, fourth graders! You've been working hard this week and we are so proud of you. So today we are going to continue practicing multiplication with whole numbers times mixed numbers. So very similar to what we did with improper fractions. It's just one more little step. So at least for the first problem, I'd like you to practice with me and make sure you have your paper and pencil. If you think you've got it on the next problem, you can try it on your own and then check with me by watching the video. So let's get ready. Our first problem, let's write it down, is 7 times 3 2/3. Okay, so if you look at that, the first thing you need to do, there's a couple of things we need to do. We know from our previous work with improper fractions and multiplied by whole numbers, we got to take that 7 and make it into a fraction. So we learned that we can just make that whole number over 1, 7 over 1, and we've got a fraction now. Now, what we need to do on the other side is we need to take that mixed number and we need to turn it into an improper fraction in order to multiply it. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to use a different color. All right, we're going to take, if you remember the trick that Mrs. Frakes initially taught you, you're going to start at the bottom number here, and you're going to multiply these two numbers. This is the fastest, easiest way. 3 times 3 is 9. Then you're going to add the top number. 9 plus 2 is 11. Write that down. And we know this is in thirds, so you write down the denominator still in thirds. Excellent. Okay, now I'm going to use a different color. Now you are ready to multiply. Now this should look familiar to you. So we're going to take our numerators and multiply. 7 times 11 is, you right, 77. And multiply our denominators. 1 times 3 is 3. Excellent. So if in the future your teacher said you could just leave that in improper form, then that would be your answer, 77 thirds. Now, if your teacher asks you to take that 77 thirds and convert it back into mixed number format, that's one more step. So we are going to practice that. Let me move us on to another slide. Okay, switch my color back. So we are now at 77 thirds, and we want to switch that back into mixed number form. So if you recall, you're going to take that top number, 77, and we're going to divide it by 3. So we're going to do that partial quotients. This is where this really comes in handy, that knowledge of partial quotients. Okay, so if you remember when we first started with partial quotients, we often used the strategy of what facts do we know are easy? 10's facts, right? So we know that 3 times 10 is 30, and you could easily do that, but it's going to take you a little bit longer. It's going to take you multiple steps. So I'm thinking going a little bit bigger. If I know that 3 times 10 is 30, what if I double it? 3 times 20 would give me 60, and that's a lot closer. Let's try that. So let's write down 20 on the outside, and then 3 times 20 is 60, so we're going to write 60 here, and whatever we do inside, we need to subtract. So we have 7 minus 0 is 7. 7 minus 6 is 1. Excellent. Now, we can't just leave it at 17 because we can use 3's facts to get a little bit closer. So think in your head, okay, 3 times 3 is 9, I know that. 3 times 4 is 12, that's getting closer. 3 times 5 is 15, that's pretty close to 17. 3 times 6 is 18, oh, that's too much. So the 3 times 5 is the closest we can do, so we're going to put our 5 out here, write it down on the side. We're going to copy and write down 15 here. Remember, we subtract whatever we are doing inside here in the division problem, and now we're going to subtract 17 minus 15, and we get a difference of 2. Now we know 3 can't go into 2, so that's going to be our final remainder of 2. This here on the outside, we can circle that. That's our quotient. We can write it up here. And then, now that we have our long division done, we can turn this full problem back into a mixed number format, which would be equal to 77/3. I'm going to do it in a different color just to show you again. You take this top number, the quotient, and you write it down, 25. That's your whole number. This number down here, the remainder, is the 2. And then the number of the divisor is thirds. So our mixed number, 25 2/3, is our answer in mixed number format. And by the way, remember, this is equal to 77/3. They are really the same thing. It's just two ways to write it. All right, good job, fourth graders. Get ready for the next problem.